likely to convert than men. Why do you think that is, in your personal opinion?
Yeah, I think when Christianity is done well, it's abundantly obvious the benefits that exist for women because of the example of Jesus. Jesus intentionally reached out to women. He used metaphors that women would understand on a different level than men would use. He said, let the children come to me. And in most places of the world, women are the ones taking care of the children. He didn't bring shame onto the woman at the well. He brought her honor, right? In restoring her honor, despite whatever her life circumstances were. So there's all kinds of examples. If you know Jesus supported women. And so you go into these societies, whether they're sex segregated in some way, or women are considered second-class citizens, their testimony is not worth as much as a man's, and you come in with the message of Jesus saying, Jesus treats you with honor and integrity and empowerment and cares about you and you specifically, not just as a human, but you specifically as a woman. That's a really appealing message. And then if we create Christian community around that, women are generally communal and are empowered by other women, and you create these communities of women of faith. So that's one reason why, and women tend to be a little more relational. So if you have people coming into a place, women might be more likely to build relationships with them faster than men. And all mission is relational, right? It's not just proclamation. Mission, when done well, is relational. It's about personal relationship with Christians that leads to a personal relationship with Jesus.
There's just so much. Looking not just at the relational aspect, actually, I want to shift gears. I know we're coming near to the end of our time. Secularization. Let's talk about that just for a moment. Because secularization, so many different Western missions ideas brings this idea of modernity when they go to do mission. They think if I have food and shelter and all these different things, but at the same time, when secularization comes in, you see a shift culturally. I know Philip Jenkins has written about this in his work. What role does secularization play within the, I don't want to say the constricting of the faith? What is secularization doing to our faith? Perhaps that's a better question. Globally, that's a big question, I know.
Yeah, and it's very complicated and contested. So a lot of social scientists are looking into secularization now. That's kind of the latest and greatest in religious studies. And there's a lot of different ideas about how secularization works. And the Europe situation has been studied pretty closely, but the models of European secularization don't work in the United States. And for example, the USA never really had a state church, right? The way that Catholicism and Orthodoxy were and other churches were state churches. So the secularization processes are going to look different there. And so now some people are trying to find out, what does secularism look like in the global South? Is there any secularism in the global South? Because if you look around, it looks like a pretty furiously religious place, religions of all kinds, not just Christianity. But the problem is they're still trying to use Western models of secularism and apply them in non-Western places. And it's just not working. So I have yet to see, in my opinion, some really convincing studies of secularism in the global South from the perspective of those cultures, not taking the Western model and trying to find it somewhere in the global South. That's not going to work. So we have to understand that Indian secularization, if it is occurring, is going to occur in a different way than French secularization happened or British secularization happened. But the field isn't quite there yet. The scholarship has not quite moved in that direction. But what some people think about how secularism impacts Christian faith, one thing secularism does is it makes faith more private. And that's one definition of secularism, is that religion is no longer the public central organizing structure of a society. Now it's more internal, it's more private. And some people think that when religion goes private, you have maybe more authentic versions of faith, because now there's no public expectation for you to go to church or publicly identify as Christian or tithe or whatever. So those who are still doing it are really, really Christian. Like they're doing it because they're personally motivated and they feel personally indebted to the faith in some way. So people think of it as some kind of like refiner's fire kind of thing, that all the quote nominal people are gone. What's left is kind of the faithful remnant. That's how some people are understanding secularization. But again, globally, we can't assume that those models are going to hold.